I already have the solution, and everybody is going to hate the solution. Are you guys ready to hate a solution? Microsoft is going to put a Copilot button on the Xbox controller.
Yeah.
And so when you push that...
Are my kids going to have like no RAM available because AI ate it all up? You know what I mean? That's what I'm worried about.
The RAM wars of 2026.
Right. Exactly.
I'm glad it's there. And even though I don't need it, I'm going to get it.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the NerdNest podcast. I'm Bill Fairchild, your host. I'm joined today by Carrie Golem. How's it going, Carrie?
Super awesome. I had a fantastic week. I've been off all week, and I've just been enjoying having this break. It was sorely needed. So yeah, I've been having a fantastic week. Hopefully all of you guys have as well.
Oh, absolutely. I ate my third pile of Thanksgiving food a few minutes ago. So if I have to run out of here in a little bit, you'll know why. But we're also joined by Russ Crandall. How's it going, Russ?
Good, man. We're recording this the day after Thanksgiving, and the biggest thing for me, and it's the dumbest thing, but I cleaned up my yard like perfectly. Like, we've got an avocado tree, we've got a lychee tree, and they just drop leaves all the time. But we went out there and we took out every leaf on the yard, and it was so satisfying. We even went like right before the guests were coming. We're like 5 o'clock. We're like, all right, let's do one more leaf sweep. We're gonna get them all, And so it's like just this perfect, satisfying experience of pulling leaves. It's the dumbest 45-year-old thing, but that's what I did. Loved it.
Nice.
Paris, are you out there picking up leaves in your yard?
I probably should be. So don't look at my wife any suggestions. Yeah, definitely. Like I said, for me, well, I guess, first of all, thank you for having me back on again.
Yeah.
I will fully admit, I'd messaged you after, I guess it was 2 episodes ago, because you were doing the Steam Machine. I was like, oh man, I would have loved to have been a part of that conversation, just because I just think it's so nuanced of what this thing is ultimately going to be. But since the last time I was on, I got to meet Russ. I got to meet Carrie in person. So that was really cool. So you're still on the list, Bill. Can't wait to meet you in person as well. But everything's been good. Yeah. Day after Thanksgiving, ate way too much. Yeah. Watched a lot of Stranger Things with the kids. So It's been good.
Yes, we're like, and don't worry, we won't spoil anything. We probably won't even talk about it. I'm halfway through episode 3, and I got to say, pretty impressed so far. I felt like it's been a long time, and I was ready to be let down. And so far, I'm really enjoying the hell out of it. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about video games. Oh, and the voice that you're hearing, that's Paris Lilly. Paris, tell everybody where your channel is, where people can find you on YouTube and stuff like that.
Sure. You can find me over at Gamertag Radio. Been doing that for way too long of a time. I have my own personal YouTube channel, which is just my name, Paris. And I also do a lot of stuff with Kind of Funny Games as well. And I'm on social media saying nonsense, Vicious696, if you want to look me up.
There is a lot of nonsense. I'm not going to lie. I scroll through and I see it and I'm like, oh, he's baiting. That's bait. All right, let's talk about video games. And, Paris, since you brought it up, the main topic this week isn't the Steam machines and stuff like that, because we've been talking about it for a little bit, but I'm curious, do you have any takes on the Steam machine, the Steam controller, the Steam frame that you like when you were hoping to be on the last episode that you planned on talking about?
What was interesting, so I have to give a shout to Carrie, because he's giving me hope on the price. Because when they initially showed it, everything, I'm like, $500. That was just right off the top of my head, first thought. This will be $500. And obviously Valve has since, kind of said, no, we're not subsidizing this. It's going to be very competitive, with current PC pricing. And I know we'll probably talk about the explosion with RAM prices and everything. So I kind of adjusted and just tried to be more realistic about it. I'm thinking, okay, maybe 600 for the base model, 750, for the 2 terabyte. But now I'm even questioning that. But then I see what Carrie's posting and some other people, and I'm like, well, maybe it won't be that bad. But we'll see. I'm excited for it just because I love new tech. I just love to tinker. I love what Valve has done with SteamOS to get it to this point where it is viable to sit in a living room and be able to play your games. I've in more recent times become kind of a VR person. Like I got a Meta Quest, I got the Vision Pro and all that. So I at one point wanted the Index. And now that they're coming with the frame and I'm understanding how they're going to utilize the frame, I'm interested in that as well. Steam controller, I still got the original one. Yeah, sign me up for that. So I'm just excited that Valve is in this space and they're doing things that will keep the others honest and keep competition going. And like I said, I think the biggest thing with the machine is going to be price. If it's reasonable enough, I'm not expecting mass adoption. This is probably going to cater more to people that are already invested in the Steam ecosystem, more so than someone that's already on PlayStation or Xbox. But I'm glad it's there. And even though I don't need it, I'm going to get it and I'll have it under my television as well. And I just love the fact that I can tinker with it and play around and do a bunch of fun stuff with it. I also think like Russ is here, I think it's going to be an emulation beast. So I'm really looking forward to that as well. But yeah, I'm intrigued. I think the biggest question right now is how much is it going to cost and when you're going to announce Half-Life 3 because we know it's coming.
So before we go too far, I just want to comment on this because I've been, just been relaxing. So I haven't like tweeted a bunch, but today Wario posted a deal and it was like, here's this HP thing for $550. And I'm like looking at it, I'm like, that's basically the Steam machine, just a little bit better. And I was like, this is slightly better than the Steam machine, $550, send tweet. And I threw my phone away and I started playing. And then like an hour later, it's like at 250,000 views. And I'm like, what in the world? Like, why is this blowing up? I don't know. I just like absentmindedly sent this and I got a bunch of people in there. I got someone that does like AMD drivers responding to it. And I'm like, what is going on? So I think it's it's a hot topic. I still, Bill, we have to go back and revisit. I want to look through all our old notes and find when the $1,200 rumor bundle price was like a year ago. And I was like, oh, the Steam frame is going to be like, 700, 800, and the Steam machine is going to be like 400 or 500. I have said the same thing over a year ago, and it's been the same since, and I don't see it changing. And it kind of has to be that. And I don't want to be like retread on this thing again because we talked about it so much. But I mean, a lot of people are talking about it, and it's all over the place. For me, I think this is like almost like jujitsu that Valve is doing. They're just using all the energy and just letting someone else like fall over themselves, and there's like, no, it's PC pricing. It's just PC pricing. And then when it's like $500, they're like, you said it was PC pricing. We're like, yeah, it's PC pricing. That's what it is. And people are like, oh, PCs are so expensive. They weren't supposed to be this cheap. That's me in the back end, like doing like 4D chess type of stuff. But I still don't. $600 is like the base model with all of the memory stuff and all the other stuff going on. $600 is my absolute ceiling. If it's over that, I'll admit I'm wrong, but I also think that I don't think that's wise. But anyway, I digress.
You don't think it's wise? What do you mean you don't think it's wise? You think that's too expensive? You mean?
Oh, going over 600 for a base model, I don't think it is a wise proposition for what it is. It's you can't update it. It's all soldered on. There's the Hawk Point 2 is a budget basement CPU that AMD basically had left over, and that's what they're using. So they're using budget basement parts. It looks ostensibly like a 7600M XT that's been cut down because the RAM speed that I've been reading off around, even though that Valve themselves don't specify it, every other bit of information says it's 288 gigabytes a second, which is 7600M XT specs, not 7600M specs. 7600M specs is actually lower bandwidth. So this looks like it's a cut down XT. It looks like it's a cut down Zen 4 mobile CPU. So it's less than mobile parts in this that are 2 years old.
Right.
For the life of me. All of what I'm looking at this, I said it was 500 a year ago when we said the $1,200 bundle. That hasn't changed. So I want to kind of find that and just be like, I said it then. It hasn't stopped. So we'll wait and see what happens, but I still remain fairly confident of it, like, 400, 500, 600, somewhere in that price range.
If you don't mind, and I know this isn't the topic of the show, so I apologize. But
don't apologize. Go.
And really, it's for everyone, but I'm targeting this more at Carrie. So do you think with everything that you just said, and I know the Valve interview they did with Scale Up as well, that this is going to force developers to essentially be more efficient with their games. Cause there's the whole controversy with the 8 gigabytes of VRAM.
Right.
You're talking about the CPUs, more bargain bin, things like that. So them putting this on the market, honestly, very similar to what they did with the Steam Deck a few years ago, where it's not the most high end thing, but you've seen developers realize, hey, this is a product I need to make this more efficient so that it runs on this hardware. So do you think that's what's going to happen? And obviously there's a whole anti-cheat, conversation that, that goes with this as well.
Yeah. So all right. So let me talk about Steam Deck first. You have to remember that when Steam Deck came out in 2022, it was twice as good as any other handheld that was out and half the price. Fair. So it was amazing. It was like absolutely world bending with what they came out with and what they released. And Gabe said that it was hurtful for them. So likely that the $400 model they were losing money on. They've since said that they are not going to subsidize it, and they can still not subsidize it and hit that $500 mark. At that same token, when you take a look at the relaxed CPU that they have on there, the 6-core Zen 4 2P 4C type of arrangement that they have. This will heavily put consideration not so much on developers, but actually on Valve to fine-tune SteamOS and Linux as a result of like kernel changes, ACP changes, the AMD P-State scheduler, so they can be doing a bunch more work that will go up to Linux upstream that will reflect all of AMD's Zen products, where they will just be, this is the same thing that, everyone, I've talked to Bill about this a million times. I hate when people use the word Windows, the term Windows bloat, because it's not what they're saying that as this all-encompassing umbrella of Windows is bad because of Windows bloat. And SteamOS is good because of how it runs the hardware, not because it's running less things. And Windows is bad because it's not running the hardware well. It's just it has nothing to do with how much it's doing. Like, yes, that does impact it, but like you saw what they did with the Asus, the Ally X, that new thing where it can auto calibrate your machine based on a game. That's tuning the hardware. That's not doing anything for in-game settings. That's literally just saying, actually run this at like this, and that's all it's doing. So it's Asus is stepping in and saying, hey, Windows, we're actually going to help you out here because you're doing a phenomenally terrible job handling this, even with the Xbox full screen experience debloated. So that is really where it's going to pay a lot of dividends. And if they can try to extract some other stuff, then you also have the possibility, because that's already been highlighted by one of their the people that they pay for, the open source contract workers. That has worked on VKD 3D, DirectX 12's API wrapper for Proton. He has already done the work, and it's disabled by default, but you can compile yourself the Mesa build to enable for RDNA 3 to have FSR 4 generally available. So there's like breadcrumbs of things that Valve has that for the Steam machine, they're like, actually, you can use FSR 4 and all the FSR 4 stuff on this RDNA 3 chip. So yes, this is all things that developers don't really need to do, but it's like Valve min-maxing the Steam machine to the nth degree for developers to really extract everything out of there, and then go a step further, obviously, because developers can be like, actually, your preset is Steam machine, and just put Steam machine, and that will target a lot of platforms, even for PC general.
Yeah, and on top of that, the one of the things that is really important is that Valve has said, we have a dev kit for this. So the developers are going to get the dev kit and target that to make sure that it runs on that particular spec. It's almost like Valve is finding a way to encourage developers to aim a little bit lower when it comes to how their games are going to run on PC, because now that we have a spec that is, admittedly lower power, but it is something that every dev will know that this spec exists, and so they can try and target that. It makes it a lot easier for them because they're not trying to target 1,000 different hardware configurations, and they still have to do that kind of thing. But the existence of what's the word I'm thinking of?
SDKs, development kit.
The dev kit. Thank you. The existence of the dev kit kind of helps do exactly what Paris is asking about. The second thing that I wanted to mention real quick is you talk about the breadcrumbs that Valve leaves behind. You guys ever go on your YouTube channel and you see a comment on a really, really old video? You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Like, you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
I can't believe people are still watching that, right?
Yeah.
Somebody did that yesterday to one of a NerdNest podcast episode from a year ago. And they were like, I can't believe these guys predicted the Steam Machine and blah, 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 right? And in that, we were talking about how Valve always leaves these breadcrumbs that when you see them before the reveal, you're like, oh, that's interesting. But then when you see them after the reveal, you look back and you're like, oh, holy cow. All that was like, they were telling us ahead of time what was happening.
Yeah.
So I would go one step further, and I would say beyond just dev kits, I think developers are just going to buy this thing. I think, just in general, as PC users, like everyone wants something in their living room, right? Like I know there's this big debate about semantics between like, is it a console, is it a PC? But I think it's a PC that gives a console-like experience, much like the Steam Deck does, right?
Exactly,
and I think that's probably the best way to describe it. And I think that some of these devs who are also just gamers, I mean, they were inspired to make video games, right? Like they do that as a career path. They probably play games too. And I bet that they probably are going to pick up a Steam machine just for their own personal use. And I think that that is probably going to inspire them just as much to be like, man, we got to make sure our game works on this thing. You know what I mean? Like it's a challenge for them. It's the same way I see in the emulation community where like a dev gets a handheld from a company, whatever, and it's the challenge of it that really inspires them to kind of work on it. And I see this happening with the Steam machine too, especially if it's going to be at that 600 or below price point, because then it's just an easier thing to pick up, I think, at that point.
So go ahead, Paris. You go first.
Oh, sorry. But because Russ, you just said something, and not to derail from this, because I do want to stay on what the Valve conversation. But what you said about it's really a PC that does console things, right? That's essentially what Xbox is trying to change the narrative. They're going to build its PC that does console things, and I'm sure we'll talk about the full screen experience and all that stuff, but that's where that is headed as well. And I think Valve is essentially beating them to the punch in the living room to be able to show that off.
100%. Yep.
The last two bits that I wanted to talk about the thing that you had mentioned as well, Paris, is the anti-cheat question to answer that. So that is valuable, and that's actually something that we've talked about on the NerdNest as well, because we've seen the stuff that Valve has been doing for VAC, Valve's anti-cheat, and what they've been able to accomplish with the AI ML side of things, and how they're trying to enhance it from that angle. So there's a lot of things that are going on that Valve is doing in the background, where they can try to like meet somewhere in the past, in the future, right? Like what they did with Proton. It took them many years, and eventually when they released it, it's like, oh, how did they do this? And they've been working on this for a long time. At the same token, we do have Larian Studio making a specific Steam Deck build for Baldur's Gate 3 that probably can run on Steam, just the Steam machine proper, and get better performance, even though it's slightly less performant insofar as graphical performance than a PS5, but the CPU end is a bit better. But between both of them, you're going to find an area where you might actually hit, really good image fidelity and 60 FPS on Baldur's Gate 3 with that very specific Steam Deck build. And Larian Studios is doing that. I think that is counter to what Valve actually wants, because they want people to make Windows versions and have Proton sorted out, because they can still extract benefits there. And then Larian Studios was like, actually, let me see if I can just go further here. But between those is a fantastic marriage of what's going to happen. And I think ultimately the best news for me, and something I hope, and I guess it doesn't matter, is because Valve has been doing all this work on Linux and making it so nice, is that for me, I would hope that there's like klaxons going off in Microsoft, like oh my goodness, this is like code red, like this is really critical for us. They still have NVIDIA, which is largely their impenetrable wall, because you look at GPU market share and it's like 90% NVIDIA, which doesn't run super awesome on Linux. So they still have this moat of like a protective barrier where NVIDIA is just better on Windows. But if that barrier falls or people just start moving over to AMD, there's lots of things to discuss, but I hope that Microsoft is like, actually, let's be performance focused and go there. But lots of interesting things with it. I just can't wait till we find out more. I kind of care more about the Steam frame and the Steam controller too than the Steam machine. But it seems like from the conversation around it, everyone cares more about the Steam machine. than anything else. Which is it's interesting regardless of which way you talk about it.
I think that depends on what you have. Like the people who have a beefy PC,
Right.
they're going to be less interested in the Steam machine because it's going to be X number of dollars. My guess is $650 for something that's less performant than what they already have. So why would they be interested in that other than it's small and quiet and fits under the TV really well? But you could you can also just hook up your computer to your TV and install Bazite and get the same experience pretty much. So if I can understand why a certain subset of the population that's interested in Steam stuff would be interested more in the Steam machine, but I also get why there's a lot of people that won't. We go back to when it first got announced. Rich and I said in our private Discord, we were like, well, I'm buying one. And then Rich said, I'm buying one. And then Carrie said, I'm not. And then Carrie said a couple minutes later, oh, I am.
I mean,
and you don't need it. But you don't need it.
I don't have I don't need it. I just bought a 9070 XT, which will, dunk all over the Steam machine, and it's in my living room. Like I have Windows as my living room PC, and I've been using that for a while now. So I wake up my TV with just a controller. Everything works. So I already have what people are looking for that just don't know that it's possible. But I have to get it just because I need to, do benches and other stuff, and I need to record data. So that's all why I'm going to get one. But I think it's, and then also I think, while there's a lot of people that have a better machine, that factoid that Valve gave is that Steam machine is 70% better than most, it's 70% better than most everyone else's stuff. So
no, it's better than 77. It's better than 70% of people's stuff.
Right. Yeah. So there is a large user base that this would apply to. I still have misgivings for it. I think Valve can do a lot of stuff, but it coming out in early 2026, and then you figure the next Xbox, which is also a PC, is going to just destroy this thing and might be $1,000. It's like, man, if this Steam machine is $800 and an Xbox is also a PC and it's $300 more and it's like 4 times better, why would I get the Steam machine? The legs on this, it really has been. There's lots of things that make no sense why I go back to that 500 number. Anyway, I've digressed. We talk about this way too much.
Well, all right, let's move on to, the thing that Carrie built with a box of scraps in a cave, and that is his own Xbox full screen experience. Well, now looks like you're not going to have to you're not going to have to find a cave. You're not going to have to find a box of scraps. You're not going to have to build anything from it because Microsoft, they tweeted this out, I don't know, a couple days ago. They said, immerse yourself. The Xbox full screen experience is coming to Windows 11. And basically, if you are on, what's the little circles called where you get to do stuff early?
The Insider?
Oh, Insider.
Yeah, the Insider program. So it's now on the Insider program. I have not had a chance yet to try, because I have a Windows desktop that's been sitting here in the NerdNest for quite a long time, ever since I got my Steam machine that I built. That's way more powerful than this Windows machine that I have, and I can't install Linux on this machine because it's NVIDIA. So it's just sitting there waiting. I need to turn it on. I need to update to Windows 11 or whatever. I need to make sure that I try this out so I can see what is it like when I'm not in a handheld using it, because one of the big problems when it comes to using Windows gets solved because you're on a handheld, because you have a screen that you can touch if you absolutely have to. And that's the thing where now I won't have a screen. I will only have a controller. That will be the only thing that I hook up to this, and it better work, because I'm telling you, the Xbox Ally X and the Xbox Ally, yes, it was much better than previous versions of Windows because I could just do almost everything with the controller. But there were times where the controller was sending inputs to the wrong window, to the wrong place somewhere, like something I couldn't see. And the solution was I tapped the screen on the window that I want to interact with. And then it's like, oh, this is where you want to press A. I got you. And then it worked. You can't do that on an Xbox full screen experience hooked up to a TV if you don't have a mouse and keyboard attached. So it needs to be flawless. Otherwise, you're going to have people who are really irritated because they go to play something on their TV and they're like, I'm pushing A. What the hell is happening here? And they can't go touch the screen to fix it. So, Paris, have you had a chance to try this out yet?
Yes, actually, it was this week. I finally got to try it out. I mean, I've had it on the Xbox Ally X, and everything that you've said is been my kind of thoughts on it as well. But I saw the when they tweeted out and talked about it. So I joined Windows Insider. I was already in the Xbox Insider. I was like, all right, let me switch to the dev build. Did that, downloaded the update, wasn't getting it. I go, what the heck? Why am I not getting this? So it turns out they're doing a slow rollout, even if you've updated to that preview build. So I forced the issue through certain means, and I got it. So I've been testing it out for the past few days, and it's exactly what you're saying with the desktop experience as well. I've run into a couple times where I had to move the mouse or whatever to get to where I need it. But I would say 90 percentile controller worked just fine as far as navigating through everything. My complaints / wish list issues that I have from the Xbox Ally applies to this on the desktop as well. Whereas all my updates need to happen inside that experience. I should never have to leave that experience at all. That's what Valve solved with SteamOS. I never have to leave that UI. So they still got work to do on that. Excuse me. I know they did the gamer profile things on the handheld. So they're slowly but surely starting to do some of those updates. But here's my thing, and this goes into my conspiracy theories here.
Ooh.
I think 2027, holiday 2027 is the next generation of Xbox. And they're slowly rolling out this full screen experience. Lessons learned, they're going to iterate. But I'm actually very fascinated to go to CES this year because when we talked to Asus about 3-4 weeks ago, and I was trying to dig. I knew they weren't answering, but they're essentially hinting they got more hardware, more partnership hardware coming with Xbox. I do think, and I'm doing air quotes, a current gen Asus Xbox is coming from them that will have this full screen experience as a part of it. But to everything that you just said, Bill, it's not going to work if I have that thing hooked to my television and now all of a sudden there's an input issue that I need a secondary device, touchscreen, mouse, keyboard, or whatever the case. So I think the clock is ticking, so to speak, over at Redmond, where they need to figure these things out and get it to where it is. And ironically enough, not to pull Valve back into it, but just very briefly, I actually, when the Steam Machine stuff first got rumored that, they're about to announce it, I went back and saw a video with Gabe Newell at GDC in 2015. And it was just so ironic. What he was talking about 10 years ago is finally being realized now in that video that I saw. And part of it is what you were talking about for Carrie is it took them that long to get Proton right. It took them that long to get the UI right, for Steam and just all these things. And here's Microsoft coming in now, and it just feels like it's late to the party in some aspects where I know they're super smart people. They're way smarter than me, but do they have enough time to be able to get this consumer ready so that I'm not tinkering around? Like, I'll obviously be fine doing this, but I hand it to my wife and go, oh, hey, here, you go do this. She's going to go, what the hell? This is not working. What do I do? You know what I mean? So they got to get to that point where it's just user friendly. It's easy to do. And I just don't think the full screen experience is there yet. It's close, but not close enough. And I do, like I said, I think time is starting to run out.
Yeah, I would add, Steam Big Picture mode sucked for a long time, but before it got good,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think we're in that same spot with Xbox right now where it kind of sucks. You got to crawl before you walk, before you run. And we're in the crawl stage, I think, with the Xbox full screen experience. But I do like this, put more people on it, put it on Windows, make it junky for the people that are in the Insider program, let them make all those complaints and just kind of have that start to snowball. And so I think we're in a good spot in terms of the future. I think that holiday 27 is probably that makes me a little nervous. I'm like, are they going to get it done by then? You know what I mean? But they might, and so, and that's 2 years from now we're talking. And that's, I think, how long something like this is going to take for Microsoft especially. So.
Go ahead, Carrie.
the one thing I wanted to talk about is that I actually had addressed this at Gamescom. I gave Xbox the business. I was just like lacing into them. I was like, look, these are the things that you guys need to do. And I was like, is there some way for the controller to have an ejector seat? There needs to be a way. Like right now, OEMs handle this inside of the Xbox Game Bar, but Asus does it, MSI does it, and they can emulate a mouse function in the controller. I'm like, is this something that Microsoft is going to do by default, vanilla, for people that just build their own machines? And they were like, no. And I was like, this is going to be a real problem, guys. Like, you need to have ejector seats on any of these things, because when you have a controller only, even though you have all these, even like UAC prompts can now be done by a controller. You can do pin code access by a controller on the start screen. All of these things are now present on 25H2 on Windows 11. And then even outside of the Xbox full screen experience. But the all of these things are like the parts that are there that you can get somewhere with a controller, but not everywhere with a controller. Mm-hmm. And then you're just like, if you just get on the desktop, you're like, Xbox button. And then it just brings up the UI and you're like, let me bring up that. And if there's no clean way of having the controller just you can navigate Windows with a controller that makes sense. However, they need to figure that out in a vanilla way so that OEMs don't have to patch that in themselves is something that, I mean, I've been doing it for a year, and maybe they just don't find that to be a proper user experience. Like, what do you mean they push the right analog stick and it moves the mouse? Like, we're doing that now. Like, Asus and MSI do it now. I don't think people have a big problem with it. It's fine and it's understood, and people know how to use a mouse. So for me, it just seems like a thing that they should do. But I have no idea how they want to roll this. But to everyone's point, there's things that when you try to do it automatic, and like as Bill said, if something pops up where X input or DirectX is like, oh, I don't have the focus anymore, let me default to my desktop thing, and you're pressing A because that's the only screen that's in front of you, all of a sudden that cohesion breaks down rapidly, and people are just crashing down with no eject, and it's a bad experience. So I always use the ejector seat thing, but I gave them a business about everything about power, being a power czar. I told them that directly. I was like, you guys have to be a power czar. Don't allow these vendors to just run the machine as hot as they can just because they're trying to push benchmarks or what they can. We want to make this efficient, especially on handhelds. Lots of stuff that I talked about. We talked about this before, but there is still a lot that they have to accomplish. I hope they do. They have time, but like you said, time is running out.
Especially if they're partnering with third-party vendors to make hardware. If Asus makes the Xbox ROG Series X or whatever the hell they're going to call these
Xbox
things.
Machine.
Right. If they make this device and Windows is not ready,
right,
that is going to, like, if I'm Asus, I'm thinking of suing, because they dumped a bunch of R&D into getting this device ready to go, and then suddenly the software, that like Microsoft software team isn't ready, and I'm like, if I don't launch this now, the hardware is going to be outdated. But if I launch it now, everyone's going to tell me that it's a piece of garbage because the experience is bad. And like Russ said, the experience can improve over time, and big picture mode has giant leaps and bounds. And yes, Microsoft is in the crawl phase, and they are crawling in the right direction, which is something we have not been able to say until this year. I just think, boy, oh boy, I hope they get it done in time, because otherwise that's bad news bears.
Yeah, I mean, that really is all it comes down to. They're headed in the right direction. And to your point, Carrie, I've talked to people at Xbox, so I've definitely aired my grievances.
But
the one thing that I will be fair to them is people I've talked to, everything that we're talking about, they're talking about internally. So it's not like they're blind to it. They obviously understand, they got to get these things right. Like, I think one tiny pet peeve that I have is with when you integrate Steam or Epic or whatever into that Xbox app, it doesn't pull down the right cover art. Yeah. So there's Steam Grid that I've integrated Steam Grid in now, and I can do it. But the point is, they should be doing it. I should not have to do that. It needs to be a seamless experience. If you truly want me to integrate multiple digital stores into this UI, into this experience, so that I'm not going to Steam, I'm not going, to GOG or wherever, it all needs to be seamless and work. So again, we keep talking about the running out of time. I think they can get to holiday 2027 and get this all figured out. But it really comes back to what you're saying, Bill. If Asus, if MSI, Lenovo, if they have these other vendors that are making hardware that isn't just a handheld, that is something that's supposed to sit under my television, it's just got to work. Or what's the point? So I'm sure there's pressure coming from their partners on this. Obviously, internally, they got people like us yelling and screaming, in these videos about it as well. But They got to figure this out. That's why I say, again, I do think CES will be interesting this year, because I am curious to see what Asus or Lenovo is going to have to say as they continue coming out with hardware. Will they keep doing Windows stuff? Like, will we see more SteamOS devices? I guess is the point I'm trying to make, versus what they've already done with Windows. Because for me, anyways, SteamOS right now is still my preferred. Is my preferred system use case, however you want to say it, versus what they have in Windows. Whereas Windows, I can get it to work, but I just prefer the experience on SteamOS because I just feel it's more just consumer friendly currently.
There's one thing that I think that's kind of funny about this entire thing is that the Steam Controller 2, the Steam Controller 2026, I guess, whatever you want to call it, might be the actual solution to make Windows console far better to use, because those trackpads are like, oh, I have a mouse, I have a thing that I could just start using this like I know how to use it, because they have all the functionality there, which is a funny thing to say, is like, oh, you want to make a Windows console, buy a Steam controller.
And you're not wrong. That kind of does solve a lot of the problems. It's funny, one of the comments that I saw either on the last episode of the podcast or on one of my videos that I made is somebody asked if I thought that Microsoft would put touchpads on their controller. And I'm like, dude, they haven't even put gyro on their controllers yet. No, they're not going to. Russ, are they going to put touchpads on an Xbox controller?
I don't think so, and I'm listening to this, and what I keep thinking is, like, I just want a UI that won't ever need me to have a mouse input.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
I don't ever have that need with SteamOS. I never have that feeling. And so that's what I would like, is a bigger separation between the full screen experience and actual Windows experience. And that's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, even when you're talking about, you can now use your controller to do pin prompts. And I've railed against this before. It's like, I don't want to actually put a pin in at all. Like, let me have a gaming experience. And maybe when I jump over to Windows, then make me put my pin in, like something like that, where you can actually get to your credit card information or whatever. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking, is I want this just to be more controller friendly, as opposed to making the UI more mouse friendly. That's where I'm thinking.
That's a tough ask. It's like you say, no, you can totally use a computer, but it's still secure. Just go ahead and do whatever you want, but all that secure stuff is still secure. That's a hard challenge. I once actually had that question asked to me. They were like, hey, can we just have a user that everyone knows that has access to everything? And I was like, no, you can't. What kind of question is that? No. And then they were like, what do you mean? Like, no, come on. This is an insane ask.
I will say that Carrie talking about having an ejector seat, I get what you're saying, Carrie, but I'm with Russ on this. They should design the UI 100% around, and it's hard because they're building it on top of Windows, but they should design the UI 100% around a controller, and they already have one. It's the Xbox UI. Just friggin' import that. I don't understand what they don't get about this. That's a really good UI, and they already did all the work.
Yeah, they got to bring the blades back. Is what they got to do.
Not that. Jeez,
really take it. But one thing about that is I'm curious, and I'm really thinking next gen versus what would happen in the next calendar year. Maybe they're really building this from the ground up as a part of Windows 12. Maybe that's part of it as well, where obviously Windows 11, you're throwing in modes, you're tacking on stuff. Whereas maybe the plan is from the ground up, we're implementing these features and these things so that it is a non-mouse touchscreen experience. I only need to use the controller from day one. All my settings, updates, everything are inside of that experience, and I never have to see the desktop or do anything PC related unless I choose to do so. That has been my thought on it, because there's no way that the next Xbox is running Windows 11. That doesn't make sense to me. It has to be something that's Windows 12. So again, we'll see.
I already have the solution, and everybody is going to hate the solution. Are you guys ready to hate a solution? Microsoft is going to put a Copilot button on the Xbox controller.
Yeah.
And so when you push that, hey, where's my mouse? Oh, it's right here. Would you like me to click on something for you? That's what's going to happen.
I do want to address that. I think that, like, when we talk about like the Steam machine proper, the biggest attraction there is obviously the ease of use. That's the main thing, because people have this. It's like, oh my goodness, I don't know what to do when I have a controller and I have this. Like, what in the, like, they can't really like comprehend what is possible. Whereas using a console becomes very easy. So I understand wanting to have a very console-like experience. There are some ways that makes sense, especially like, we talk about like Windows 12 and how the Xbox operating system is actually a hypervisor and they run things in containers. These are like things that like are super interesting and how they could kind of feasibly do this. But that's besides the point. What I'm trying to say is that there is still a real subset of users, and I was actually shocked about this. When did I see it? I think it was like a year and a half ago. I was at an airport. I was flying over to somewhere, and I saw someone using an Asus Ally, the original one, before the X came out. And he was using it, and I was like, oh, I wonder what he's using. And he's using Windows, and he was just navigating the Windows desktop with the controller. And I was like, oh, do you like that? He's like, yeah, no, I much prefer the Ally. And I was like, why? He's like, because it has Windows. And I was like, whoa, like I did not expect that to come. And it was just the familiarity with using Windows that gave him peace of mind of knowing how to do that. And he was like using emulators and all the other stuff. So he already had, through how he was growing up, had this established knowledge of how to use stuff. And I do feel like there's value in, like, okay, Windows 12, you have an Xbox, you have an Xbox controller, you press the Xbox button. Maybe that just opens up the Xbox full screen experience, right? That's just a boop, there you are. Now you can just do everything in the thing. But I still feel that there is a real thing there where having a mouse mode is still kind of necessary, where you are going to be in a couch-like position where you need to give someone the tools to be able to do everything on Windows with a controller if the time comes up to it. Just bringing up a keyboard, bringing up whatever, navigating a keyboard, exactly how Xbox already does a keyboard. And a lot of that stuff is muscle memory. So I still feel like I'm totally on board with you guys, and 100% I would want it too. I don't want to deal with all that crap, but I still feel that it actually is necessary, and to forego it is actually not a solid solution, and it should be included because then it becomes muscle memory for people as they're like, oh yeah, I just use controller and then I just use mouse mode. It's something that they'll learn, something that'll just feel natural. But anyway, that's just a thought.
And actually, you kind of convinced me a little bit to move more towards your side, and here's the reason why. Sometimes I'll load up an old game on my Steam library, especially if it's like a Square Enix game, and they would have like the settings are outside of the game because they made it on console first and then they ported it over to PC. And so you go into like this window where you're like setting your resolution and stuff, and then you start the game.
Right.
And with those older games, you have to have some way to interact with them.
Yeah.
So your ejector seat does have to be there. I just want to have to deal with that as little as possible.
Sure. Yeah. But for sure, there are games, like even like Condemned for PC. It came out on 360. They made a PC port. It's still, when you press escape and go to the options menu, even if you were using a controller to navigate around, it's like, oh, but you have a keyboard and mouse. Go ahead and use it in the menus. And it's like, it won't accept controller input at all. It anticipates keyboard and mouse only. So you need to have those things for some games. And that came out, like 2008 or whatever, 2009 on PC port. So there are still a large amount of games. Hopefully there's a remake of a remaster of Condemned coming out, because there was that delisting that happened. But that's the point, is that there are older games. There are still use cases because the Windows does legacy so well. It just runs things from eons ago, and you'll just come into problems with it. So you do need it. Anyway, I'm in agreement with you guys, but I still would press for it. But anyway.
All right, let's move on and talk about RAM prices, because good God, they are insane. I'm looking at an article here from Tom's Hardware. The headline says an entire PS5 now costs less than 64 gigs of DDR5 memory, even after a discount. Now, I don't know how sensationalist this is because I have not read the entire article, and I don't know enough about like PC hardware to decide if like DDR5 memory, 64 gigs, like, is that a lot? That seems like it's a lot, right? 64 gigs.
Yeah, I'm on Amazon right now. I just searched DDR5 RAM 32 gigs. So just like a standard, right? $300 is a going rate for like Crucial and G Skill.
Jeez.
Like we're not talking about the greatest ever, you know. 350, that is a lot of money.
I've had these sticks of RAM sitting by my desk forever now. And when
you're a rich man.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm so rich. JP Moneybags over here. I gotta say these are DDR4, so these are like ancient. I really have to sell these. They've been just sitting there forever.
So, all right, let's talk about this for a little bit. Russ, do you think with the RAM prices being the way they are now, like Paris said earlier, the next Xbox is going to be $1,000. He doesn't know that. He's prognosticating or just talking about the rumors. He knows nothing. He's not leaking anything here. We can't stop talking about the price of the Steam Machine.
Yeah.
RAM has a big part of this. And like NVIDIA OpenAI bought up 900,000 RAM chips per month because of their AI slop data centers. So like you're paying for this AI stuff, whether you're using it or not, because all of your stuff is getting more expensive. Do you think these RAM prices are going to significantly impact the Steam Machine and the Xbox, whatever the next thing is?
I think this is the one like wild card, and why I think Valve is probably being kind of quiet about pricing right now, because they don't want to make any promises. Because they're going to have 16 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM in the Steam Machine, and who knows what that's going to cost. And I'm a little worried. I mean, so the other day I took apart a bunch of mini PCs that I have for testing and stuff, and I took the RAM out of all of them. And I like set them aside because I was like, I may need this RAM at some point, and I'm not going to go to Amazon and buy any at this point. I need to actually hoard what I have right now. Like some of these mini PCs, I don't plan on ever booting again, but I might need this RAM stick. And so, I've been doing that myself, which I think is a big sign right there. Who knows how it's going to go? Like hopefully at some point this will all balance out, but I don't know if it's going to be in time for the Steam Machine launch or even the Xbox.
Paris, you said you thought the Xbox might be $1,000. Do you want to push that number up higher with the RAM prices, or do you think that $1,000 is including that?
I mean, it hopefully we're talking 2 years from now, and this is all settled down. So we have some normalcy with RAM prices. But even with that said, it would not shock me if that next Xbox is $1,000. I think if RAM is still crazy as it is right now, it would probably be even more than that. We'll see what they're gonna say from a performance standpoint by then, because I don't think we'll even see it or hear about it. It'll probably be a year from now. I would imagine the 25th anniversary, they'll show off whatever the next hardware is going to be. And then we can get a better gauge on what pricing looks like. But I think in the short term, it is more about the Steam Machine. You know, as we've already said, this is why Valve is probably being very vague and coy about the pricing on it, because I don't think they know. Maybe they're working out whatever deals currently, but if RAM is going to be this scarce and the pricing is just this outrageous, honestly, I'd rather them delay the thing versus inflate the price because of this. Look, and I'm knock on wood, temporarily this price inflation on RAM, because I think that does more harm than good than anything. So we'll see. But yeah, as far as the Xbox goes, yeah. $1,000 would not shock me. Their handheld was just $1,000, so why wouldn't the console be $1,000 too? So we'll see.
My worry here is that that we're making, like, it's not that we're saying, hey, like AI needs to use less RAM. What we're saying is we need to create more RAM, right? Like to solve this problem. And I hate this direction just from like kind of a environmental and sustainability practice. Like we're like, okay, we now need to get these rare earth minerals or whatever they're using to make this RAM, right? And it worries me that we're just going into this huge consumption of this particular part for something that personally a lot of us don't see a lot of value in right now. And that's the whole AI bubble thing. And so that's
I'm
my
going to
worry
disagree
here.
with you there real quick, Russ. I am saying I want AI to use less RAM.
Oh yeah. I'm not saying that us on this panel. I'm saying that just in as a market, we're like, all right, well, we just need to make more RAM. Like there's no other option here, you know. But yeah, it's making like old Russ kind of sad that this is kind of happening. You know what I mean? Like, are my kids going to have like no RAM available because AI ate it all up? You know what I mean? That's what I'm worried about.
The RAM wars of 2026.
Right. Exactly.
It's just like, oh my God, what's the Mel Gibson movie from way back in the day about gas?
Mad Max?
Mad Max. Yeah, it's like Mad Max, but with RAM.
Road Warrior.
Yeah, exactly.
A minute ago, while Paris was talking, I saw Carrie leaned forward and was typing and looking like he was looking stuff up. Were you looking up RAM prices, Carrie?
So I was looking up some different things because it is using Hawk Point 2, and I was like, is Hawk Point 2 SODIMM DDR5? And it is. I was unsure if it was using DDR5, but of course it was. It would have to be because it's been using DDR5 for forever now. But I was just double checking to see because when you make a desktop version of it, typically for mobile part, you're going to be using LPDDR5X, and for a desktop using mobile parts, you'd use SODIMM. And sometimes those sockets can be kind of lenient with using DDR4 or DDR5, and they can kind of go over the place. But it looks like it's just DDR5 only. So I was wondering if there would have been, at least from the system memory side, would have been some type of savings to be had somewhere. But ultimately, I think we have to remember that Valve has likely had like a BOM, what's the billable order materials, whatever it's called, and there's a minimum MOQ, minimum order quantity, that is necessary to build these things. So for me, I think that there's, especially because we heard that bundle price of $1,200 over a year ago, I feel like there's a lot of stuff that's already been contracted in and purchased that a lot of this stuff isn't really affecting them all that much at the current moment, but they do have to price it in such a way that if that supply runs out, they're going to get tagged with the other stuff. So they have to come at some part where they can't just be raising the prices all over the place because like, oh, our stock is this, so we'll do it this. But then when that runs out, we're going to swing it. So they do have to manage it some way, but there are contract prices on that in some regard that I'm not particularly worried at the current moment. The last closing thought that I'd have on it is that there is some trepidation. We just had stock market like take a beating the past few weeks, and it started to climb back up a little bit. But Nvidia is down considerably because Google's TPUs made the news, and it doesn't even matter. Like Nvidia stuff is better. You know, they see that Google is doing well and they're using their own stuff, so that has turned down the heat a lot. And you see a lot of AI companies, AI data centers, they lost half of their value in stock market. So there's a lot of stuff that's already started to like tumble, and it's coming back up. But we're in shaky ground right now where the reality might be, you know, all of this thing gets turned off and then things will normalize. We'll have to wait and see. It is super hot right now, but at the same time, there's a lot of baked in fear in the market where you hear time and time again with people saying that, you know, there's a crash coming. This is an AI bubble. You have Michael Burry betting against Nvidia. You know, there's lots of things that there's pressure on a downward trend. So that is going to impact that. But you look at like SanDisk stock, it's like hockey stick. It's just like, it's like ridiculous. And same for Micron. Micron is up. So all of these are impacted because of their stress for components, and they can just jack prices, and you know that's why. But to Paris's point, I do think that this is just a time crunch type of thing. I don't think that you're going to see any particular, like Intel. Intel has the ability, because they once did it before. Intel can be like, actually, we're going to make RAM now, and they could do that, but I don't think that they would. So I think that we'll just ride it out and see what happens rather than spring up more stuff to make. but that's where I am right now. I think it's a temporary problem at the current moment. I don't anticipate the RAM wars of 2026. Will my kids be able to have RAM?
Well, this is also affecting storage prices because when you get like M.2 drives, I guess those are getting really, really expensive as well.
And yeah,
Which it makes a lot of sense why Valve is putting an SD card reader into the Steam machine, so you could just
That's
get one of
actually
those
super cool.
instead.
We didn't talk about that. That's super cool that you could just, swap from a Steam Deck to a Steam machine to your Steam frame, and it could use it on all of them because it's all like layered the same. That's super awesome.
And it's
all
fast enough.
Well, yeah. It's until you start loading it up, and then you really stress because there's no controller on there for like memory cleanup and all the other stuff. So once you've used up all the NAND, then writing to it after you haven't trimmed it at all, it'll start being very slow to write to. But reading from it'll still be just fine. But yeah, it's cheap, right? I mean, I have a rule, and I say about this all the time: never spend more than $50 on a micro SD card. And I've had that because I paid like $200 for I think like a 256 gig stick a long time ago, and then it broke on me, and I was like, oh, God, that was painful. So then I made this hard rule: never spend more than $50 on a micro SD card. And thankfully, sometimes you've been able to get 1 terabyte micro SD cards like a year ago for $50, but now you can't. So I would just continue waiting, not spend more than $50 on it. Also,
I think you need to
Express,
update that rule.
Yeah, well, no, micro SD Express is going to change a little bit, which the Switch 2 now supports.
Yeah.
And I'm hopeful that the Steam Deck 2 goes that route as well. So I did want to comment. I also believe that the next Xbox is going to be $1,000, but I've also said Steam Deck 2 is 600, PlayStation 6 handheld is 600, and PlayStation 6 is 800. I'm not an insider. No one's told me anything. This is just what I feel is going to be. But yeah, I would say that just my gut feeling alone that the next Xbox is going to be 1,000 at a minimum.
At a minimum, that right there is the scary part. Is when he finishes the sentence with "at a minimum."
Well, it's a beast. If like what we have already, the next Xbox is like a monstrous, absolutely monstrous. So it's going to be beefy and it's going to be pretty awesome. But that goes in time. Like again, the Steam machine really has this cap on what it can actually cost because if the Xbox is a PC, it's going to be a no-brainer. Especially because you can go to Best Buy, you can go anywhere else, and Steam is only going to sell the Steam machine on Steam.com, Steam store, Steam Power, whatever. There's a lot of factors that come into this, and that's why I continue to like hammer back on, like, no, this is going to be a small cost. There's a lot of things that are already baked in. There's a lot of considerations. I just, for whatever reason, I'll just keep on coming back to this. So maybe I'll just end this podcast like Steam Machine $500.
All right. Well, let's move on to other topics. Russ, you want to grab a topic from the show notes and we can chat about it for a little bit?
Yeah. Let's talk about Charlie Cox. So this guy plays Daredevil, but he also played Gustav in Expedition 33. And he got a nomination for the Game Awards. And it's weird, because often we will sometimes see these Hollywood guys. I'm not saying Charlie Cox is a Hollywood guy, but like a Hollywood guy in a video game. And sometimes it doesn't really work out, right? Like they maybe are not like a gifted voice actor or whatever happens to be. But I think Gustav was really good in this Expedition 33. And so I think it's cool to have this kind of crossover event, and the whole point of this article is that it just says that he's thrilled about it, which I think is pretty cool.
Well, but he also said something else that I thought was really good. He said that he thinks that the person who did the motion capture for Gustav
right
should get and that's Maxence. I don't know how to say that. Carzorla. Sorry about mispronouncing your name. He thinks that they deserve the credit too. And it made me, when I read that, I was just like, they don't have a category for that. Like there is no category for motion capture. Like you go back to the Oscars and when, who's the guy that played Gollum in Lord of the Rings?
Andy Serkis.
Andy Serkis. Yeah. When Andy Serkis got nominated for his performance in Lord of the Rings, that was pretty freaking cool because his performance was amazing, and he's sitting there crawling around in a white spandex with like dots on him, doing all of this stuff. He's acting with the other actors. And it's like that thing happens all the time in video games. It's like everybody is motion captured these days, unless it's like a retro style game. But we never talk about those motion capture performances. We give performances to voice actors, but not for the motion capture actors. Paris, what do you think about that?
So I have to admit, I have, what's the word I'm looking for here? I have some biases.
Okay.
Because I am good friends with some voice actors in the industry. I will just put it that way. And when the nominations came out, I may or may not have had a conversation with a few of these voice actors. And full disclosure, I have not played Expedition 33, so I cannot comment on Charlie Cox's performance. I love him as Matt Murdock, Daredevil. He's amazing. But the feedback I got was, yes, he's a normal actor. It was almost like, hey, he went in a booth, did a few lines, and then he gets this nomination. And then you have people that have dedicated their entire career to this type of work, and they don't get the recognition. And I won't say names. I know one off the top of my head that I was shocked was not on this list. And I think you could have swapped out Charlie Cox for that. But again, I am biased and I get it. And I've not played the game, so I don't know how good or bad his performance was. It's just, I think the Jennifer Hales of the world, because she's obviously at the very top of what people do with voice acting in games. These are the type of people that should be recognized in this. And of course, you're going to have the celebrity appearances and all that to take nothing away from it. But I would rather see, you get what I'm trying to say. I would rather more people that this is their craft get the recognition, because I don't think anyone thinks Charlie Cox is going to win. Troy Baker's probably going to win because his Harrison Ford was uncanny.
It was.
But instead of him being on that list and getting that recognition, what about some of these other voice actors that have had amazing performances this year, could have taken that slot? That's kind of my thing on it. And again, I love Charlie Cox, so it's nothing against him personally. It's just, there's definitely other voice actors out there that could have been on this list instead of him.
So here's my question. And I'm not saying this because I necessarily believe it, because I did play Expedition 33. I didn't finish it, but I did play it. And I did think that that Charlie Cox's character was well performed. There are some people who would say the Game Awards nominated him because it would draw more attention to the Game Awards. And I'm not saying that, but I could see how somebody could look at this and think that. Does that make sense?
Very fair.
Yeah, I agree. I think it provides validation, I think, to the platform. And I get with that too, and it's weird for me too, because I kind of see two things, like 2 points. One is that maybe they should do combos. If it is a voice actor plus motion capture, best performance is them together, right? So maybe make it a combo thing, and like the character as opposed to the person, maybe.
Right.
And then also, it's ironic for me too, because when I thought of Claire Obscure and voice actors and like who would get nomination, I actually didn't think of Charlie Cox. I was thinking of Ben Starr, which is another character in the game. He does a great job. And I had just gotten off playing Final Fantasy 16, which he's Clive in that one too. So I'm like, hey, he's back, and so I liked that, just that kind of perspective too. So yeah, I get that. It seems almost like a sweep, like Claire Obscure just in general got so many nominations. So there's 3 in performances alone that are for Expedition 33. The Ben Starr, Charlie Cox, and then Jennifer English, who plays Mael. And so, they're half of all the nominations are from that one game.
That's wild. Carrie, any thoughts on that?
I think I haven't played Expedition 33 yet either, and I really need to. And I don't know if maybe I will when I start my new commute. But I do want to give that up. I do want to play that, but I do also feel like, sometimes was Jen Taylor for Halo Infinite in the nominees? I don't remember.
This year?
No, when Halo Infinite came out, it's like 2021.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Because she did such a phenomenal job, like when she was the weapon, Dr. Halsey, and Cortana, all of them were distinct. Like, I heard all three different voices that she did by herself, and there's just a subtle variation on those. So it was so well done that I was like, man, that is amazing.
Yeah, I played through that game, and I did not know that those three characters were all.
Yeah,
that those three voices were all the same person.
Yeah, it's all Jen Taylor, and she did such a. So it's the weapon. Yeah, it's such a fantastic job. So I feel like there's sometimes it's perhaps it's so fast and they do want it, but then also the Game Awards. Some of these types of awards, they don't even like linger on them. They're like best voice actor, this person, best this that, and it's like they spent a second on it. They don't even get on stage presence. They don't really get anything. But that's more of a critique of the Game Awards itself, because I feel like they're how they balance time, and I understand it's a difficult thing because everyone, it's already long as it is. But that's just a critique. I'm not mad at the Game Awards in any which way. For this particular conversation, for Brian Cox and everything, I heard that it was done for like it has been referenced enough that I've seen on different feeds of like the voice work and just the team's general work across the board, the music and everything for the game. So for me, I just like it because I want to celebrate Expedition 33 generally. And that's that's basically where I come from ultimately.
So I will say, because Carrie, you're bringing up Jen Taylor, and I mean, obviously, again, she's legendary. Been doing this almost 25 years at this point with the Halo series. But I will shout out Alex Jordan, who was in a game called The Altars. I don't know if you got a chance to play that or not. That came out this year. Really, really good game. Just to keep it brief, he plays 11 different versions of himself, of the main character, Jan.
Oh,
and
right.
When I say, if no one told you one person did this, you would not know. That's how distinct he was, in 11 different versions of himself. So that kind of goes into my point of, here's in a performance where this guy is literally just putting in years of work to play 11 different people, right, and he doesn't get recognized in something like this. And again, this is nothing against Charlie Cox at all, because we know he's a great actor. It's just the Game Award should be recognizing more people that this is their craft to do, right, versus coming in and doing a guest spot.
Right.
Just right. my thought.
And, hey, so I have to point out, I didn't get it nominated for when I did the announcer in Doodlings. Like that was pretty upsetting. Go ahead, Russ.
I was just going to mention, so I was looking up Game Awards results and stuff. So 2021 Halo Infinite didn't get any nominations at all, other than Player's Voice, which is the one where people voted themselves, and it won that category. But it did not get any nominations, didn't get Best Performance,
which is ridiculous, because that game is awesome.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
I know that people were mad because it didn't have the co-op, split screen co-op multiplayer. But as somebody who'd never played Halo that way, I couldn't care less. And I played through Halo Infinite. The story was awesome. I loved the campaign. And then the multiplayer was incredibly fun.
Multiplayer is so good.
And I didn't buy a single stupid dress-up item through their battle pass. I just played. And I had an absolute blast. And everybody shit all over that game because it didn't have a good battle pass. Like, what? I don't understand that.
Yeah, there was a lot of things, but regardless, that came and went. But yeah, it's unfortunate. But I want to like now play the altar now that you've told me that, because now I find that to be super impressive. That's the type of things that if I saw it in the awards, I'm like, wow, that's amazing. I should put that on my list of games to play. But if I didn't know that, yeah, so that's now just jumped up on my list that I have to take a look at now.
So just one other thing. So that year, Lady Dimitrescu, so Maggie Robinson played her. So that's who won, basically. But another interesting fact is that Giancarlo Esposito was on there for Far Cry 6, right? So that's another Hollywood video game transition over. He got the nomination but didn't win. But I think it's a little different because it's like him. Like you see him in it. It's like Keanu Reeves in Cyberpunk, And I think that does kind of elevate the game in its kind of unique way, too. And so, yeah, really interesting discussion. And I can totally see both sides of that. I do like this crossover thing just because I think it adds validation and stuff. But yeah, there's a whole community of people who are devoting their lives to that stuff too.
And while we're at nominating people, I think maybe we should nominate Robert Pattinson because that guy looks like Robert Pattinson. The Gustav guy, he looks just like Robert Pattinson. So every time I see it, that's who I thought it was. I didn't know it was Charlie Cox. I thought Robert Pattinson was playing that character. All right.
I can see it.
Carrie, you want to grab a topic out of the show notes?
Yeah, so the one I do want to talk about is this is just recent. This is the Epic CEO Tim Sweeney doesn't think digital game stores should have Gen AI disclosures.
Yeah.
Says it makes no sense.
This is freaking wild. What do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
So I am of the belief that I do like having Gen AI disclosures on games. I think that because it's still a wild west of like where things are. I would say that if I were to be super generous on this, is where if Gen AI was used as a tool with human intervention to create something ultimately, rather than Gen AI to be the only solution as the output, that is where my generosity of the line like breaks. Like if you have someone that's using Gen AI for tools and other stuff to help get to the final product, I don't think that we need to disclose that, because I think as we're already in a place where people are doing this in businesses, not for like AI art and all the other stuff, but they are already using it. So I don't think that when it's used with taste that it's anything bad. It's just another tool. If you use it in lieu of taste and you just say, make me a song that does this, this, and that, and you're just like, here's my original soundtrack. And I'm like, hang on, we're in two different worlds here. So I think that's where I kind of draw the line, and where if it's just like wholesale replacement of content, that's where it really needs to be marked. Otherwise, I'm okay with not having it there. But that's a fine line, and I get it, because especially for like artists and stuff that are not getting credited for any of these things, there's a whole thing of like how AI is picking apart all of the sample stuff. How does it, it really does need to start knowing. We do need to like have it be reciprocal, so that whatever it's being sampled from, those people get a portion of whatever, in terms of what's the word where people get stuff when they're not in anymore, but
residuals.
Like residuals, yeah. There should be some type of a residuals thing. I understand that's a hard thing, but we're rapidly approaching a thing, and we're in one of two ways on a fork in the road. That if this becomes like a legal issue, you're going to have AI tools and stuff only being used by mega corporations. And what I mean by that is that mega corporations are going to be the only people that can afford to produce content that could feed a machine to then build off of. And everyone else won't have that ability. So then you're going to have this split. And I don't think that is fair. There's a whole big conversation here to have. At the moment, I do like having it there. I do like having the little notice that says, hey, this was made with Gen AI stuff. I like it when it asks in YouTube, if it says, hey, did you put any AI stuff in there? And I hate when they don't do it, because there's a Goonies documentary on YouTube, and someone used AI all over the place. And he used AI to take still pictures of like Steven Spielberg and his wife, and like made it movie. So like they're like moving around inside of the photo. And I'm like, and it's just, you can see it, and it puts me off in a bad way. It really puts me off in a bad way. I would have just rather have him use a still image referencing what instead of just making it more dynamic. But yeah, it's really wild to see, and he does it in a bunch of different places. And try to play it off. Like lots of people in the comments are like, this would have been better without AI. He's like, oh, we only used it in a few spots. And it's just like, ooh, it's a sticky conversation. I'll leave it to you guys to also put in your words.
So to follow up on what you're saying, my thought is, it is early days. It is wild, wild west. And as a result, I do think you need to disclose it, because I think part of disclosing it is educating if you don't want AI to be the boogeyman, because that's what we all think right now, right? That AI is bad. Whatever side you fall on it, that is just the overwhelming consensus, right? If you want people to be more receptive to AI, to understand how it's being used as a tool in whatever form of entertainment, it is, talk about it, disclose it. Yep, we use AI. Here's how we used AI. This is how we created this. This is how we did that. And then let people judge it for however they want to judge it from there, versus hiding it and then it come out later. Right. Like, or we just found out with Black Ops 7, they used it for some of the artwork, right? If you'd have talked about that ahead of time, I had a disclosure about that ahead of time, it wouldn't have blown up into this thing where now you got the associate creative director, he's having to talk, PR speak, the whole thing. Versus, of course, we use AI. It's a tool that we use to create this game. We use it to create art. We use it to do this. That conversation needs to happen because it's been such a disruptive thing across so many different avenues right now that people need to understand what it is. There's obviously been layoffs. There's just all these things that AI is being blamed for, that if you want it, like it or not, because they're obviously trying to force it right now, but I need to better understand what it is. The general audience needs to understand what AI is. So when it was Tim Sweeney that said it. When Tim Sweeney gave his explanation, I'm like, that's not what a customer wants to hear. That's what a shareholder wants to hear. So, yeah, educate your audience on it.
Yeah, he just to make sure everybody's on the same level and knows what exactly he said. He said it doesn't make sense to put a label on it because in the future every game is going to use AI. I take issue with that part right there. Not every game is going to use it, but sure. Okay, let's pretend that every game does. I'm working on a video for this, and so I currently have like some notes that I had written down, but there's an artist that works at Valve that responded to this idea that marketplaces don't need to tell their customers that AI was used to make this particular thing. And that is A.I.E. Sanchez. And he said, this is like saying food products shouldn't have their ingredients list. Customers should have the information to decide if they want to buy something or not, depending on its content. The only people afraid of this are the ones who know their product is low effort. He also said, would love to know... then somebody replied to him. They said, food that you can eat can kill you. An appliance in your house could catch fire. How an image, a movie, or a game you play was produced is not comparable. I'm not afraid of the label personally. I think I just think it's not enforced by Steam, and the rules are not clear for developers and players. Also a good point. And then Sanchez replied to that. He says, would love to know if your clothes or coffee are produced using child labor. Or are the materials organically produced? Or if your car engine has a certain type of technicalities, that should be visible to everyone so consumers can make educated choices, not an opaque one. And I got to say, I agree with what he's saying there, although there's a lot of people who are trying to paint Tim Sweeney and this other guy, Matt Workman, as... they're evil here. No, they made some good points. I don't agree with all of their points, but it's definitely more nuanced than just like bad, good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think my whole like kind of fear, just me coming at it, is that like you mentioned in one of those comments, it said that these guys are basically, I'm paraphrasing, but that they are afraid of being outed for low effort, right? Mm-hmm. But I think that's the goal, right? Is to make something with low effort, with less effort,
to get
wrong. The same product, right? And that's kind of what AI is going towards. And that's my worry, is that like, okay, we're now at a point where we can make our own assets. You're all fired. Like the you're all fired part that I think we're worried about, and you can, people will adapt to it, as new technologies come out, we always kind of find a way, but that's kind of my worry, is that, people have got this like long-standing knowledge and, just overall experience doing these things, and then they will be replaced, maybe prematurely, because AI can do something that's good enough. And that's kind of, I think, the worry for everyone there. And I don't know. I don't think we have any control over this happening or not. And it's just the way humans work. I feel like it might be an inevitability, but that's kind of my concern right there, is that low effort part, is that's the goal.
There's a side part of this, but it's still part of the conversation, is Veritasium released a video a few days ago talking about the unusual how randomness of events still winds up being predictable. and they go into like a lot of different things about like how when you look at randomness of like someone just flipping a coin, if you do the branching out, you can actually see like how this relays into a bunch of different things like forest fires, how rich people will be, lots of crazy different things. But it also, when he was talking about it, he didn't address it, but they were talking about like how placing these bets, like venture capitalists place lots of bets. And even though 90% of them are going to lose, that 10% of the outliers make mega bucks. And I was like, whoa, that's games as a service. That's why we're seeing this. That's they just explained it, like why we're seeing these like less single player focused games, and we're seeing these, they're trying to like hit a home run on these games that have super long legs. They're trying to hit a Fortnite, because that, even if the string of failures that you have, when you do have that outlier, it pays for all of the failures. And that really upset me a whole lot when I saw that. And I was like, oh no. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to tie this in with everything else with like, we have already seen there's been tons of layoffs happening everywhere, and the everyone is just a number type of thing, but no one is accounting all of the institutional knowledge that just evaporates when those people are just let go. Because
Brain drain.
yeah, that wasn't a friction problem where you could just ask that one person that knew and they could shortcut you to the answer. But when you don't have all of those key people that have been let go, they are going to be relying on AI a lot more. But I feel like there's been a lot of stuff that's been happening a lot lately, and I don't, again, how much can we actually participate in this specifically? But there's a lot of conversation around this, and it's like we see the train like bulldozing ahead, and it's like, oh no, someone put the brakes on that thing, and the guy's just like shoveling more coal into it. He's just going faster, and it's a fascinating thing to just generally have a conversation about. And I don't know what the right answer is, but it's something to behold, to be sure.
I think going back to my other thing, my worry is that my kids are going to be working in a cobalt mine, mining stuff for RAM, so that AI can make art for them, right? Like instead of them being artists and learning all these things, right, they're going to be miners. And so that's kind of my worry, is that AI is going to take art from us. And that's the one thing, like we want more art. We want to have the time to do more art, right? We don't want that taken away so that we can go and work in a mine.
Yeah.
But why would you learn how to do art, Russ, when you could just type in to a prompt, show me a picture of a poodle skydiving on Jupiter?
Oh, man, that was so good. The one guy on Twitter was like, "Oh, these guys stole my prompt." Like what? Like what? Like okay, like oh man, you were already. It was
Stole
a
my
bizarre.
prompt.
Yeah, it was a bizarre thing to witness, and there's no sarcasm in it whatsoever. He didn't care that what he was producing was just leveraged off of everyone else's stuff, and was like, no, this is my art. And then when someone started using his exact prompts, he took offense to that, and I loved every bit about that. It was just amazing to witness.
Did he understand the
I think
conundrum that he was in?
I think ultimately he did, but it's also that frame of mind. It goes into the same thing of like, you let the consumer know what was in it. There are going to be a vast number of people that just don't care. There's going to be people that are just like, you know what? I don't care. I had fun with it. And there's that high horse type of thing. Like, you're taking the high road of not supporting something, and then all these people are supporting it, and it doesn't matter in the end. So I don't know. It's a tough conversation to have. I don't know what the right answer is. Hopefully, I think the right answer, even though it would be harder, is to understand who was getting sampled from and have those people get residuals. And that's like I think that's like the ultimate thing where people have a stake in it. And then they're like, actually, it's cool that you use AI because it's using a bunch of my stuff. So every time that you were using, Studio Ghibli, and when that was going nuts all over the place, that Studio Ghibli would have just been like getting a big pay cut on the side. Right. That would have been cool. But like until then, when you don't have that, I don't know. It's fascinating at the very least.
You're not wrong. Paris, going to give you a couple options. You want to talk about one of these news stories, or do you want to jump to the games we've been playing?
Actually, I do want to talk about one of the topics, and it's Destiny 3. And it's just the bigger conversation as a whole with Bungie. So it came out that Destiny 3 is in early development / conversation. And, because Bungie just showed off Destiny 2 Renegades, which is the Star Wars collaboration. And they're obviously still working on Marathon, which is on track to be coming out at some point in 2026. Again, full disclosure, I did have early access to Marathon a couple of years ago. All that I'd been playing Destiny from day one. Like I was the 10-year guy, played it from the alpha all the way to the final shape, watched my son go from a 9-year-old to an adult as we played. Right. So I'm a huge fan of what they were able to create. I personally felt they should have taken a break with Destiny at the final shape. That was the perfect stopping off point for that IP. Take a break. Let us miss it for a few years, then come back with Destiny 3. You obviously knew they were working on Marathon. Maybe they could have done something else in the interim as well. Now, after everything that's happened with Marathon, we've seen how people have just completely fallen off of Destiny 2. I mean, it is like record low numbers right now of people that are engaging with that game. Other creators that I've known that were hardcore Destiny creators over the years, they've branched off to go do other things because it's just simply was time to do so. So now it feels that and then, Sony or PlayStation came out with financials, and I forget the exact wording that they used about Bungie, but essentially it's a loss leader right now for them. So with all that said, to now say, hey, here's Destiny 3, we're working on it, which is probably at best probably 4 or 5 years away.
Very long time.
It's just, it's just too little too late, I think. They've run that franchise into the ground, unfortunately. I mean, sure, the Star Wars stuff look cool. People will check it out, and then they're going to go right back to other things. You're not going to have the dedication. Like, it had gotten to the point with me during the 2010s where it's all I played. I didn't play anything else. It was just that. I'm reading every night, doing whatever with my friends. They can't recapture that for me, unfortunately, because that was a moment in time that was special. But now you have so many other options, gaming options out there. Obviously, we see where live service games have gone. Fortnite is obviously dominating everything. Arc Raiders is now a thing. Mm-hmm. I don't have a lot of confidence in what they're going to be able to do with Marathon. So, I mean, will Bungie even exist, a few years from now to make a Destiny 3? I don't know. And that is crazy to say, seeing that they're the ones that essentially... they did create Halo, but they essentially proved that first-person shooters could work on the console, 24 years ago. And then here we are now where they're just a financial mess. Pete Parsons, the CEO, he stepped down. Again, people can go back and read all the news over the past couple of years with everything that's going on with Bungie, but they're not in a good place. And I just think Destiny 3 is too little too late for them.
Yeah, I'm a big Destiny fan. Destiny 1 in particular, we played that one on the ground. And then Destiny 2, I never really got to it, but it was more circumstances, just me being busy and then my friends group and stuff. But I always thought of Destiny 2 as like being there, it's there and I want to play it, but I'll get to it someday kind of thing. I always buy the DLCs and then never play any of them, I'm kind of thinking of it like the Guitar Hero Rock Band kind of thing, where it was real big and then there were a couple sequels and it kept hitting. And then there were so many additional things to it and everyone just got burnt out and tired of it and it was done. It ran its course and it was an amazing moment. I love my Rock Band 1 and 2 days, but I kind of see Destiny like that too. When I saw this article, I was like, what can they even do? I don't even need a Destiny 3. Give us a break and then come up with a new storyline or something. But I don't see anything that needs to change about Destiny 2 as it is. It's kind of its own platform to me, And so that's kind of the weird thing for me. I'm in total agreement. It's like I think they should have a break and then come back. I think Rock Band tried to do that with Rock Band 4, where like they gave it like a few years and then tried it again, but I think it wasn't enough time. Like now everyone's into Clone Hero and stuff. So now I think would be the time. And I think like Destiny is the same thing where they got to kind of play that field. And you're right too. Like I'm like, they're going to have 2 live games running at once, Marathon and Destiny 3. Like how are they going to manage that? So there's just a lot going on. And I agree with you too. Sometimes less is more.
I have like 2 ways of thinking about this. On one hand, I get what you're saying. Like, don't add a new Destiny, just fix Destiny 2. But if the current, the way the people are currently thinking about Destiny is so bad that maybe this is exactly what they need to do. Just stop working on Destiny 2, let the game die, and then start over with Destiny 3, where you're not saddled by all this baggage of having to, like, you've got a house built on stilts, and now they're trying to build a house on stilts on top of a house on stilts. Like, it gets kind of wobbly and messy and unsafe. Having a fresh, a clean start might actually save the IP, if that makes sense. But at the same time, we've also seen, like, Overwatch 2 comes to mind, where Overwatch was like this juggernaut everybody loved, and then they basically shut down Overwatch and made it turn into Overwatch 2, and everybody was like, what did you do that for? It was awesome. Like, you should have just left it alone. What were you doing? Like, that was some really bad decisions that were made there. I can see that kind of thing happening here with Destiny 3 as well, where maybe they should just fix Destiny 2, but I don't know. I got to admit, I don't really play it anymore, but I liked it when I did.
So to add context to what you're saying, they accomplished the 10-year goal that they set out with in 2014 with the final shape. It was
Right.
their Marvel Avengers Endgame moment where you wrapped it all up. So everything led up to this moment. It wrapped it up perfectly. Longtime fans like myself, we were satisfied. I was happy. We did it. But then, kind of very similar to what Marvel has done, hey, let's just keep it going. Let's come out with Black Widow, and let's do, a new Captain America, and then let's do Disney Plus, and we're going to put She-Hulk and all these other shows on there, and we're going to oversaturate it, and now everyone's tired of it. Oh, wait, bring back Robert Downey Jr. because we got to figure this out and call the X-Men. That's essentially what's happening here right now with Bungie and Destiny 2, whereas we were satisfied. We were good. But you kept going and none of it made sense. It wasn't, why am I doing this? I let me miss you. I don't miss you if you're going to continue to do this. So to the point, and whatever Marathon turns out to be, you knew you had another IP you were working on. All right, Destiny 2, we're done. Look for Marathon next year or whenever it's coming. And then 3, 4, 5 years down the road, oh, remember Destiny? Remember how much you loved that? We're bringing it back, all new universe, all new whatever the case may be at that time. And now it's bad. Instead, it sounds like we're just going to drag Destiny 2 to the finish line. And when we reach there and you cross it, oh, wait, here's Destiny 3 now. Go play that too. That doesn't make sense to me. And I don't see it working out, unfortunately.
I feel like you're speaking from the point of view from a consumer, but not from a shareholder, Paris.
Oh, well, of course.
There's interesting things. I feel bad because Bungie is a shell of its former self back in 2001. That particular team, 2004, they effectively established what online gaming was. They made dual stick shooter, they made using a first person shooter on a controller makes sense.
Yeah.
The Blam engine that went into Halo Infinite that was used in Destiny felt right. Like everything that they did with that entire team, they were just banging on all cylinders. And I don't know how much of the original team is still actually at Bungie, but I know that a significant portion has gone. And so for me, it's bittersweet in seeing what has been going on. But you look at this thing of where for Overwatch 2, Destiny 2, they haven't made a Fortnite 2. And I think that they're really cognizant of not doing that because they could just keep on building on it. And they've switched over to Unreal Engine 5, and Fortnite will probably switch over to Unreal Engine 6, but they'll still just call it Fortnite. It'll get all the enhancements, but it'll just be Fortnite. It won't be something new. All the things that you bought in it will still be there. And I don't know how much longer they will still have it, but Fortnite does have a lot of legs to the same degree that Roblox does. And I feel like you look at Roblox, Minecraft, and Fortnite, and these are juggernauts in and of themselves, and everyone is trying to carve in whatever else portion of. But there's a whole generation of kids that have grown up on these three games that offer so much different stuff that I know, like my family, my kids and my nephews and their friends only play Roblox and Fortnite. Like they'll play Xbox. My son will be like, oh, I want to play God of War. And he'll play like a few bit. He'll play like Super Mario 64, but just to get to the point to do the backwards long jump up a set of stairs. And then like, okay, I did that. That was cool. That was awesome. I'm going to stop playing this. And I'm like, all right. So it's interesting to witness, to see. And I don't know, like I keep on watching it and I take a look at these kids. I don't know when these kids are going to feel like, oh, I do know that Roblox can be seen as, oh, that's just a kid's game. So there's like this acceptableness of just being a kid, right? Being a teenager and becoming an adult where you just like, it happened to us, right? Even when these things didn't exist, it's like, oh, games are for kids. And you felt that. And people talk about it. And people always will say, oh, you still play video games? It's like, well, yeah, of course I do. But like, there are people that stopped because it was a kid thing to do and it was not an adult thing to do. So I wonder if they'll continue playing games, but maybe they'll split off from those things because those are for kids type of thing. I have no idea. But the games as a service thing, going back to the Veritasium video, those juggernauts, those outliers that just push so much money are things that are well known. So they will continue to push for these. I don't think Marathon's going to do very well. I don't know if Destiny 3 is going to do very well. It's a hard business to break into, and I feel like you never know what's actually going to work. But it's ultimately, I'm from the part that's just bittersweet, just from the Bungie side of things, because I was an absolute huge Halo fan. Like, I mean, just a ginormous Halo fan. And even just, I loved Halo Infinite, but I thought it was great. But it just wasn't like the community was so negative on it. We talked about this with the Game Awards and everything. So there's just like this negative sentiment that I don't know, that they have to like just pass that hurdle to get there. It's really interesting, and like almost you need to have like a clean slate, like Arc Raiders, right? Like Arc Raiders seem to come kind of out of nowhere, and everyone's like, actually, this is pretty awesome, and that got great numbers. So I don't know,
and it's only $40.
Yeah, but I mean, to the point of like, I think that to Paris's point, use the same engine. Don't call it Destiny 3. Call it something else. Make it something new that it doesn't have all of this baggage with it, because it brings with it all the stuff that people might not find favorable. And also people that are coming in from the outside, like, oh, that has so much baggage that I can't even participate in there. I didn't do Destiny 1 and 2. I can't possibly do Destiny 3. So I don't know. There's a lot of things to navigate in there. And maybe I'm just speaking it from my own perspective with the way I look at things. But it's certainly difficult. It's a certainly difficult task.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we do on this show, Carrie. All right, let's before we talk about the games that we've been playing, there's a link down here. It's like the last link on our show notes. Russ, you want to click on that? It says YouTube, and then tell people all about it. It's right above gameplay.
Yeah, I'm clicking on it. It's loading. I have no idea what's going to happen. It just took me to youtube.com.
What?
So YouTube is a platform that lets you watch videos.
Shut up.
Is that what you want, Bill?
No, it was supposed to. It was supposed to take you to retro-game-corpse. I said it right. .dashery.com, because you got a bunch of new merch.
Oh yeah. So you can also just go to store.retrogamecore.com. redirect
okay.
to that. So,
All right.
yeah. So I got so Tech Dweeb has been on this show before. I've been getting a lot of heat just because my logo kind of sucks, and I agree. Like I made it in 10 minutes, before I started the channel, and people like, oh, make better shirts and stuff. And so yeah, I hit up the only like graphic designer that I know has done it professionally and is into this stuff. I was like, Tech Dweeb, like, do you want to do something? And so we collaborated. He came up with some ideas. I came up with some ideas, and we made 4 new shirts. So there's there's one that just says Retro Game Core. I call it the Punk Rock T, and it basically is like the Black Flag logo from back in the day, like a punk rock band that Henry Rollins was in. And so, but it says Retro Game Core with Game Boys instead of the usual lines that they have. And then we did a Contra Test one, and then a Hadoukenable one, and then a Snack and Drink one. So just all very close to the themes that I've been talking about on my channel, the little things, But yeah, they're all up in my store now, and it's cool. I get to run my own store that's part of TeePublic, which I think makes the best shirts among all the like merch stuff. But they let me get to like Dashery is like a subset of it made for creators that lets you set your own prices and sales and stuff. And so they're like, yeah, set it to the regular price, and then you can have your own sales. And I said, oh, but can I just do the sale price all the time? And so that's what I have. And so it's basically just $16 a t-shirt instead of the typical 23 or whatever. I get less money for it, but I don't care. I'd rather people just get it the sale price at any point. So yeah, that's my spiel on the merch. I'm pretty happy with the designs. TechDweeb did an awesome job.
The designs are awesome, and I'll make sure that there's going to be a link down below. And it won't just go to youtube.com, apparently. I don't know what happened there. But make sure that you guys check out my favorite one is the Hadoukenable one. Like, I just absolutely love that one. It's, Ryu, and he's doing his Hadouken, but instead of a fireball, it's a D-pad coming out of his hands. It's just perfect. All right, let's talk about the games we've been playing. Paris, you been playing any games this week?
Yes. So I review a lot of games. So the past few months have just been chaos, and Black Ops 7 was my last review game that I played. So now I'm just going to play what I want to play. I don't have to stream it or talk about it or anything. So I've been playing Hades 2. Because I started off when it was an early access, and then I put it down saying, hey, I'm going to wait till the 1.0 comes out. 1.0 comes out. I'm reviewing like 10,000 other things, so I didn't get a chance to jump back in and play. Now I have that time, and it's just such a fantastic game. It is so freaking good. What Supergiant has been able to do, obviously, with the first one, and now to iterate on that coming into Hades 2, it's just every run is just so fun. Some I get super far, and other ones I'll die in like 10 minutes. But regardless, I feel like I'm constantly learning something or getting a new upgrade on this or whatever. And that's the whole point of the Hades franchise. I just love it. I see me easily putting 100 hours into this by the time we get to the new year.
Very cool. I will say I am the one who just dies in 10 minutes every time. I never get very far. I go up against that first boss. I beat him. I feel super triumphant. And then I get killed by a peon in the next room. And I'm like, damn it.
Yeah, I've been... I got a question for you, Paris. So, like, I played a lot of Hades 1. That was like my Steam Deck game. I still haven't really broken into Hades 2. I think I maybe done 8 to 10 hours, and I'm still like getting a feel for it. But my big takeaway, and it maybe I have not got far in the game. I have not completed a run or any of that. Nowhere close to it. My big feeling is that it is just a more complex version of Hades 1. Like, there's not a lot of fundamental changes to me, where it feels more to me like a Hades 1.8 or something, as opposed to a Hades 2. Do you have that same kind of feeling?
I know what you mean, and definitely early on, for sure. Like you said, you're 8 to 10 hours in, so you're still pretty early in. I think they do a really good job of, yes, there is added complexity to it, because there is a lot more, but they don't overwhelm you with it. So as you continue, everything seems to make sense as you progress through. Oh, now I need to farm for this resource, because I want to be able to get this, and I don't have to get it all at once. I'll just focus on this run. If I don't get it, I'll come back next run. So I know what you mean. I think someone could feel that way, that played the first Hades and go, well, I'm just doing more of the same. But that's kind of the point early on, and then you'll get extended layers as you progress further, and you start. I don't know, how many bosses have you played so far?
Just that first boss. I've only gotten that far.
yeah. So there you go.
I'm really not far. Yeah.
So, and not to spoil anything, so you've not unlocked the second area yet then, right? The second pathway, I should say. You'll see.
Right.
The upstairs, you mean?
No, that's what I needed to hear right there. It's I'm just going to keep going, because story-wise, way more compelling than the first one to me.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
So that's a big drive for me when playing games anyway, is like unlocking the mystery of it. And so I am definitely invested in doing it. I just haven't got there yet.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Keep going. You'll have a good time.
I'm curious if it's more of the same. If Supergiant Games, that's who makes it, right? Am I remembering right? Yeah. If Supergiant Games were to make another Hades game that was a different genre, what genre would you want it to be?
Ooh, you should have put that in the show notes. Give me time to think on that one. That's actually a fascinating question. Yeah, like where would you want the setting to be? That's a good one. I don't know yet. I'd have to think on that. But the possibility is there. I can definitely see you taking that gameplay loop and putting it in a different mythology and working as well. I just don't know what, like Egyptian mythology. There you go. I would love to see that. I think that could work for sure.
See, I was thinking different video game genre.
Ah, okay.
I was thinking I would like to see Hades, but like a real-time strategy game where you're playing all these different gods and you're using, you're like, okay, I got Hecate and I'm going to have her do this because she's got these powers. She's going to take over this area of the map or something. I think that would be cool.
I'd like to see Hades as a racing game.
Hades kart racing. Yeah.
No. You die and then you upgrade your cart and stuff, and you keep on going around and you just keep on upgrading your carts and stuff. That's all.
It's awesome.
I think I would actually like that. Like I like games where you're repeating the same thing. You know what I mean? And so I can actually kind of see that. I mean, thematically it doesn't really fit, but maybe Chariot Racer or something instead.
All right, Russ, what have you been playing, man?
So I have been, admittedly, I've been doing a lot of leaf raking. So that was like my main game over the past couple days is raking leaves. But I also have been testing the AYN Odin 3 a lot. So that's a Snapdragon 8 Elite chip, like the first handheld we have with this chip. And it's got a lot of compatibility issues. It's a little bit ahead of the game, you know what I mean, in terms of just like how it's working and as far as the software. So I decided to really just focus on one thing that I could maybe brute force, and that was PS3 emulation on Android. And so spent a whole day just testing games, loading them into the internal storage, then playing them. And it's impressive. I mean, I'm playing like high-level games, like Ratchet and Clanks and stuff like that, at levels that I've seen on PC. We're not 60 frames per second, but 50. And, a lot of those games originally ran at least at 30 was like their bottom cap. So as long as you hit 30, you're not going to feel slowdown. Everything above that will just be gravy, And so 50 frames per second in a game like Ratchet and Clank Quest for Booty or Heavenly Sword on an Android handheld is pretty crazy. I mean, it's demanding. It is definitely sucking the power out of that thing, but pretty cool to see that on Android. And so just testing a lot of PS3 games and just kind of getting to the point where I can save the game and then show it off, and in the PS3 era, there's a lot of cutscenes, like that was, especially those early PS3 titles, like, where's the skip button? There isn't one, and so I've spent a lot of time just getting to a good playable state in a lot of these games. And yeah, really impressive. I still think it's better to play these on PC. But if you've already got a handheld and it's an Android handheld with this chip, might as well try it out.
Do you think that it's better on PC because the software isn't there yet, or because the hardware isn't powerful enough yet?
Oh, it's all software. So like even software, RPCSX, which is the app that is running RPCS3 through Android, it's like using translation layers. It's not made by the team. It's not an Android version of this game, of this emulator, you know what I mean? So there's all sorts of things they're kind of working through. UI is a mess, like it's not there yet. And it's fine. I mean, it's the early days, it's just a work in progress at this point, but really happy to kind of see this going in this direction. And, RPCS3 has ARM versions, like they got a Mac ARM version. And so I'm hoping at some point, maybe they'll do an official Android release. I kind of want to I've got 2 of these Odin 3s, and so I'm like, who can I send this other one to? Am I going to send it to Dolphin because they're having issues with the Wii? Am I going to send it to RPCS3? Like, I want to send it to a dev team and be like, all right, guys, like, here you go, do something with this, but we'll see.
Gary, what have you been playing, dude?
I played through Order of the Giants for Indiana Jones. It's actually what I nominated as my game of the year in the Steam Awards because it wasn't eligible last year, even though it came out last year because of the time of this. So I loved Indiana Jones a whole bunch, and I've had Order of the Giants, but I haven't played it. So I decided to finally go through it. There's 2 puzzles that felt like they were almost purposefully made. They're like, man, this thing is kind of short. Let's just make these puzzles take time. And that's all that they're just like, pick up this thing, walk over here, put this down, slowly turn it. And you had to do that like 4 times. And I was just like, this is not fun. I'm reading a thing. It's not terribly difficult. But overall, outside of those 2 weak points, it's fantastic, and it fits into the Indiana Jones and the Great Circle great. I think that the team that made it is just gelling with Indiana Jones so well. It feels like it just feels so good inside the Indiana Jones universe. I absolutely love it. So I'm actually a big fan of Order of the Giants. It took me like 5.5 hours to complete, which honestly is great for me. I prefer things that are around that time span instead of being something like super long and just padding it out for no reason, like they did in 2 instances. Story wise, fits in perfectly with the game and fits in perfectly with the Indiana Jones universe itself. I still recommend it. Recommend the game generally and also the DLC. And then I started playing Keeper, which is a game by Double Fine, just came out recently, and that game is super fascinating. I love Double Fine games, and it's a game that would never have been made without Game Pass at all. So I feel like this is like, if you were to like, the pitch meeting for this game would have just like, okay, no, we're not going to do that. But I love it. It's a very chill game. The art style is very Double Fine. It's, Double Fine kind of straddles like Tim Burton type of art design a little, but it's distinctly their own. And the game is, to give you an idea, the camera is on rails, like old God of War games were. So you don't control the camera; you just moving around
okay.
kind of moves the camera around. So it's like that. And then because you're a lighthouse that is sentient and gains things that they don't really explain, and really no exposition. So they just kind of drop you in. They don't give you a wall of text, and they're just like, figure it out. And I love that. So I've just kind of like exploring. And I treated the game kind of like a weird God of War meets Power Wash simulator, because like I'm just looking around with my beacon light, and I'm just like illuminating things and trying to make them bloom. I'm like, is that what I'm supposed to be doing? So it kind of has that. And now there's like time puzzles in there, and there's other different puzzles. Mostly the game is exceedingly simple, but it's super chill. I love the art style. I love Double Fine games. I am like 30% done with it, and I only put like, or 30% done with it insofar as achievements. And it looks like the achievements are like set pieces in the game that are missable, but it's pretty hard to miss them. And mostly it's just a chill game that's super easy, and I'm just enjoying it. I'm probably gonna be able to finish it after this podcast, so I'm gonna go through it. But I love Double Fine games. I love that it Game Pass like almost made this game. So I don't know. Those are 2 games I played, but that's where I am. Really liking Keeper.
So I played Keeper, reviewed it, and I loved it. So you'll see when you get to the end. There's definitely I would say as a parent, there's a couple tearjerker moments there that I won't spoil. But yeah, it's totally an art house, like a boutique art house type game. And the fact that Double Fine was able to make this, clearly Microsoft knows this isn't going to sell a ton of copies or do anything crazy like that. But love the art, love the music in it, and I love the message that it will portray by the end. And there's 0 dialogue in the game too, which I just think is super cool.
Yeah, so I fully agree with that. Just like the bounce off of that is that I love that the exposition of it is through all of the environment stuff that you're going through, and your companion. Because even in the beginning, you have this bird that is like on you and kind of travels with you and interacts with you. So you're figuring out the game as you're going along, and nothing is beating you over the head with, hey, stop, if you press A, you're going to do this. And it'll kind of glance up every now and again, but I very much appreciate that the game is fantastically simple, but also at the same time doesn't hold your hand. Like, it's just like, it just drops you in there. So it respects the player. It is very easy, but it helped me just play the game. Like, oh, okay, that's cool. The first level is very much a tutorial level, but it's well done. Like, they're not beating you over the head with stopping you, and they just let you kind of explore. I literally in the first level was stumped for like 5 minutes because like I got to the scene, I was like, this is the second time that I've had like a panorama view, and I couldn't do anything. So this is probably a panorama view. So I like walked back and I was like, what the hell do I do? And then I walked back a little bit more and I was like, can I go into this water? And I was like, oh, I can. Like, goodness gracious, I wasted so much time. I thought this was like a puzzle, and I'm like, what am I missing? I'm like flashing my light all over the place. I don't know what I'm like. But it didn't help me. It didn't say, hey, actually, this is just a panorama view. It just looks nice. You can back away. It just let me be there. And I don't know. I like that. And I feel like some people might get frustrated by it, but it actually made me like it more. So I don't know. I ultimately like the game. The game is very simple, but really well done.
Very cool. I've been playing Neon Inferno, which
awesome.
is actually really freaking cool. I will say it's weird when you turn it on the first time and it asks you to, you're like, pick a save file. And okay, select your character. Awesome. What difficulty do you want? Hard, medium, easy, or novice? It starts on hard. Like, that's the default, because that's supposed to be the same thing as the arcade version, but with checkpoints. Full disclosure, like, I work with Screenwave, and Screenwave is owned by Retroware, or Retroware is owned by Screenwave. I can't remember which one's which. And they make this game. But anyway, I have been playing it. It's a side-scrolling shooter, and you're like an assassin or something. You got to go kill somebody. And there's a bunch of enemies that you shoot at. And then depending on what color the bullets are, will determine whether or not you can deflect the bullets with like your sword. So green bullets, you can deflect with your sword. And when you do, if you hold down the Y button when you deflect the bullets, everything will stop for a second. And then you can aim those bullets with your stick. So you could be like, okay, this guy is shooting red and blue bullets at me, which I cannot deflect. But this guy's shooting green bullets. So when the green bullet comes in, I'm going to deflect those so that they'll hit that guy who's shooting the red and blue bullets, because it's easier for me to take him out that way. On top of that, you also have depth to the levels where you're running through the foreground and fighting, but there are also guys in the background that you have to attack. And so if you hold down the X button, you're shooting in the foreground, but if you want to shoot into the background, you press the right bumper on your trigger in order to shoot in the background. And then you have like a little cursor that pops up, and you can move that around to aim at the guys that you have to shoot at. Then I ended up stealing a motorcycle and riding on a highway, and you're like switching between the different lanes, and you have to shoot. Sometimes you have to shoot enemies that are in the same lane as you. Sometimes you have to shoot enemies that are in the opposite lane of you. And that's where you're using that right bumper thing. But the whole game has like this awesome retro feel. Russ, you're going to like this. It even has an option for integer scaling. I don't understand why it would have an option for integer scaling. It's a brand new game. Like, what is it scaling to?
Right. Scale it to 800p, scale it to 1080p.
Right. I hit the button and it didn't do anything. And I was like, okay, but it had integer scaling, like as if it's an old game. And it even has like a CRT filter, and you can have like a curved screen when you're playing. It's just a really cool game, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. The other game that I've been playing, it's not really a game. It's the Analog 3D, which finally came in after pre-ordering it. I don't even know how long ago. It was a million years ago, it felt like. But it finally showed up, and I cannot stop playing this thing. For the people who don't know what the Analog 3D is, it's basically a modern Nintendo 64 that plays original Nintendo 64 cartridges and upscales it to 4K. And my son came up, and he and I were just sitting over there on the couch playing Smash Brothers against each other, the original Smash Brothers. And we're just playing and chatting while we're beating each other up. And at the end, he was like, that was really cool. And there's something super satisfying about going to a store and finding that cartridge that you were looking for and bringing it home and putting it in that ka-chunk when you put it in the system and turning it on. It's just, there's something awesome about it. And as much as Analog has really ticked me off with some of their artificial scarcity nonsense in the past, man, oh man, do they make freaking great hardware. This thing is awesome. I love it. And I'm working on a video about it too, because it's just, I am over the moon for this thing as somebody who loved the N64 since it came out. It was just so cool.
So the EverDrive developer finally got his hands on one. It's crazy that Analog did not send him one, right? They sent me one, but they didn't send to him one, So he bought one and got it finally, and he got it working, but you have to flash if you have an older EverDrive, you have to flash a new bootloader onto that cartridge for it to work on the Analog 3D. And to flash that new bootloader onto the cartridge, it has to be done on an original Nintendo 64. So in making my video, I borrowed a Nintendo 64 from somebody and, used it in my comparisons and stuff, and then sent it back to them the day before this announcement came out. So we figured it out. I'm just going to send him my EverDrive. He'll flash it and then send that back. You know what I mean? As opposed to sending the console back. And so we got a solution. But yes, if you have an EverDrive and you've got an old console, you can update it to work on the Analog 3D now, which is great. But there's another cartridge called Summer Cart 64, which I also have, which is half the price and still works just as well. So I've been using that too.
Yeah, so this is funny though, like I have an original in Nintendo 64. I don't have a TV I could hook it up to, Paris, you're muted. I saw you talking, but I couldn't hear what you said.
Oh no, I was just laughing at the fact that we don't have TVs that can do it now.
Yeah. So like he must have he must also have a CRT that he's gonna do it on, right?
Yeah, he has hookups for it because they do play it periodically. I could always, send it to Carrie because I'm sure on that wall and thing above, he's got all that stuff.
He's got 12 of them.
I have Man 64. I have, so there's one there. I have another one that's actually hooked up. I have a few. The N64, we were just talking about it. Why did it just escape me? RetroTink, the 4K.
Oh, yeah.
The guy just put in, you remember the CRT Beam Simulator?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he actually put that into RetroTink 4K now. So now you can do BRT beam simulation from the RetroTink onto like OLEDs and other stuff. So you can plug in stuff right in there and get all the benefits of So I'm about to hook up my RetroTink with the new firmware update when it comes out. So
awesome.
I specifically got the RetroTink, and that's why I didn't get the analog, because I was like, I also have the original stuff. There's also something, but it's also along the same lines. Like I still have a Sega Saturn. I have a Virtual Boy, but there's lots of these. I have a Vectrex, which I think you can see right over there. But the reason I have those is because a lot of those things, you can emulate them, but there's some use cases where you can't do it either accurately, and something will be broken, or the experience itself is going to be wildly different from what you're going to recreate. It's like Virtual Boy and stuff, even though it'll make your eyes bleed, I do prefer playing on a Virtual Boy itself. And like the Vectrex, looking at a vector-based display is something to witness, and you don't get those today. And it's very hard to recreate because those sharp lines that gets drawn on the screen like an oscilloscope, it just produces something that you can't reasonably recreate without actually experiencing it. So that's one of the reasons why I always have original hardware, and I try to continue having original hardware, just for those particular reasons. But I don't I think that the Analog 3D is the Analog 64 or whatever. What is it called? Analog X?
Analog 3D.
Analog 3D. I think it's cool. You also have the M64 from what's his face coming out.
Yeah, I saw that. It's a good deal uglier than the I think the Analog 64 looks great. And then I saw the one from Mod Retro, and I was like, "Whoa, that's ugly."
The Analog 3D kind of reminds me of. Do you guys ever see Macho Nacho on YouTube?
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
made he created like the Sega Neptune, the one that never existed,
Oh,
and that gives me those same vibes. Like the Sega Neptune that was originally looks like an analog 3D. It's pretty cool. But yeah, I do like how the analog 3D looks. But yeah, pretty nifty.
Yeah, I
right.
think the one thing you're going to be missing out with the RetroTink is the overclocking that they have in the analog
Right.
3D.
Yeah,
It really smooths out some of those games, like James Bond and even
Oh
Ocarina
yeah,
of Time.
you're gonna want to play at 7 FPS. I don't know. I have 7 that 7 FPS feel when explosions are going off. That's true GoldenEye.
well, in the A6 or in the A3D, you can set it to original hardware mode, so it turns off that overclocking. Yeah. So it's up to you, because apparently, like if you use it in certain games, it just breaks the game. It doesn't work anymore.
Right? Yeah, it's part and parcel with the whole thing. Yeah. But yeah, there's I totally get it, and that's super awesome. And I think it's great, right? Like there's lots of things like widescreen fixes, widescreen hacks, replacing textures in games. There's lots of cool things that I think are super awesome to replay certain things. And I don't know. I like the parallel emulator for regular stuff is fine enough for me.
Fair enough. All right. Paris, tell everybody where they can find all of your stuff.
You can find me at Gamertech Radio over at Kind of Funny Games, and you can find me on my personal YouTube channel. I don't know. Maybe you'll put the URL in the notes. I never remember it correctly. But if you search my name, Paris, Parris on YouTube, you'll find my channel. And I'm trying to be better at putting more content up there, but I'm lazy. So we'll see.
You working on anything right now?
No, I am taking my holiday break. I'm not. Well, I did just put a video up about Total Chaos. It was a game that came out during the Xbox partner preview from Apogee Entertainment. It's a survival horror game. It's really good, really fun game. I think it's like $25. You can pick it up, and it's on Game Pass as well. But if I can help it, that'll be the last thing I put up the rest of the year, and then I'll just hit the ground running in 2026. But we'll see.
There you have it, Russ. What are you working on, man?
That Odin 3 video, and then I'm going to New York, going to hang out with Carrie next week, going to an event, and so I don't know if it's embargoed or whatever, but anyway, yeah, so I'm going to New York for a media event, and so I'm trying to preload videos before I leave, and so I'm hoping to do the Odin 3 review, maybe, I don't know after that. I want to do my favorite handhelds of the year, but I think I got to wait till I get back, because that takes a lot of time to make that video, so...
Yep. I just got to say, they really need to start doing these things on the weekend, because I can never go to the things during the week. You know what I mean? And they always send me the invites. They're like, "Are you going to come to this one, Bill?" And I'm like, "No, because it's on a Tuesday. What are you doing to me?"
It's probably,
I got a job,
way
man.
Cheaper. Yeah, it's probably way cheaper to like book the space and all that stuff. And for them, they're doing it full time. They don't really think about that stuff.
I'm just complaining.
The funny thing for me is that like I'm starting my new job December 1st. And I already told them, I was like, I already planned this thing. I know it's kind of weird, but I'm going to need to take a PTO day on Thursday. My 4th day, I'm going to have to bounce, guys. But so I'm looking forward to that, to see what's going to happen. For me, the only thing that I've been working on is Asus sent me their eGPU solutions they're kind of bundled it with the Ally and Ally X, and I did the 5070 Ti and their 5090 version. So I benchmarked both of those. I did it in every different which way. The bandwidth on them is as best as we can get for Thunderbolt 4, which was awesome to see. It's just like the AUStar. What is what's that?
AUStar AG02.
Yeah, that one. So we're getting 3.6 gigabytes a second of throughput on them. It's effectively the best that you can hope for, and all of like the docking solutions that has like a 5 gigabit NIC, every port that you could want at max speed. They really did a good job, and it's super portable. There's different ways to look at it, because one is expensive and the other one is ludicrously expensive. So those are two options. But I finished up all the benchmarks. I had to send it back to them because they needed it back. So I sent both of those back already, but I got all my captures in. So I'm hoping I could have got it done, but I just enjoyed Thanksgiving. I've been enjoying my break this week. So I probably have it for Monday. That's when I'm planning on doing it for myself. That's the only thing I have coming up.
Very cool. Well, you guys could have been anywhere for the last 2 hours, but you decided to hang out with us, and I appreciate that. If you guys click the subscribe button right down below, all of these guys' channels are going to pop up, and then you can subscribe to them without even having to go into the description. But if you go down below the like button and click on them in the description, it'll also take you to their channels so that you can find all of the awesome stuff that they're working on. Thanks for watching this episode of the Nerd Nest. We'll see you on the next one. Bye, everybody.